So I made an agreement with Deborah to become a donor. So for me, it was really a purely spiritual work. I mean, she was, giving me a little money as an energy exchange, but I realized, it could be a lot of hot water later on if she went after me for child support. But I really did it from intuitively. It felt like I was supposed to do it, and I was given like a job. And I had learned many years before to follow the teachings of the masters of the Far East, Paramahansa Yogananda, Maharishi, Anandamoy Ma, and I had learned to pray to the point of tears, not for something, but for the higher power to come in, and for the well-being of everyone and everything. So I did that, asking, pleading the Almighty and the great saints to either come in themselves or to personally accompany someone. And it was extremely powerful. It was a magical experience. It was miraculous, really. And that's what I did for Deborah. And then after she violated her agreement of anonymity and put my picture, showed it on television, I went up to the sperm bank and became a regular donor for them. And I would always pray deeply, not while I'm doing it in that moment, in a sense, but throughout my whole life. And in the evenings, I would take long periods. I would sing devotional chants and ask that the masters themselves would come into the world to help save the world, or to at least personally accompany great souls to come into this world and to help the world. And I would bow to them, always thinking souls come not from us but through us. And I used to feel, at first I would do that, and then I would bow to the respective to the prospective parents. I'm thinking there's somebody out there that's going to have that wants these children, so I would bow to them and think of their hopes and fears. And at that moment, it was always at that moment, the second part of it, when I would think of the prospective parents, that I would feel this connection. It made a complete circuit, and I felt like it was in this electrical, spiritual, miraculous current with the souls, with the families, with the good vibes. And I would be just like overwhelmed, feeling like wave after wave of bliss and joy, and knowing these spermatozoa were growing inside of me for at least 10 days before they would be released and then go on their little journey to fertilize the egg and eventually culminate in the birth of a human being. And it was really amazing. I could never have done it if I hadn't done it in that respectful way, and I couldn't even imagine how anybody else could ever do that. So when they made fun of me, like later on, oh, did he really have a degree in philosophy? As if getting a degree in philosophy means anything. Like memorizing something. Okay. But what really means something is to pray to the point of tears. That's where the power comes. Real power. I thought, what would I want if I was a guy and for some reason I needed a donor? What would be the most respectful way someone could ever do that? And that's what I did. And when I saw that these children were looking for me, eventually I came forward to meet them, but I always thought that I would be, talking to the parents. That's what I was thinking. I'm not going to be talking to these kids. These kids are, I'm the biological father, but they are their parents. And they're their kids. They're not my kids. And I always wanted to meet these parents. And so when I found out, Wendy Kramer says, oh, there's this, famous family, and they're all, they're so happy with you, and it went so well. I was thinking, wow, this would be great. I can tell them, what really happened. What a beautiful, amazing miracle surrounded the birth of their children. The association of Paramahansa Yogananda, Anandamoy Ma, all these saints that were like right with me the whole time. I thought that would be a beautiful thing, and then they just took some attitude, like I'm like some person who doesn't really mean anything. After they had violated my privacy and caused me tremendous problems, making me run away in fear, thinking there's somebody after me. That's why I've always sought justice for other people. And so when I did my absolute best to help these people, and they just treated me with such disrespect, hiding behind all their money, and I just can't get it. Of course, they were misled by Wendy Kramer, who was misled by Deborah. Deborah, that I was a donor for once before, a long time ago, twice, she tried to steal my mother and my father's inheritance. I didn't talk to her or see the kids when they were young for about 2 years because she called my mother up and tried to sucker her into believing that I was shooting up meth and committing felonies, which I wasn't. I had tried meth years before, but I was not doing it. I smoked pot, drank some beer, drank coffee, but I didn't do anything else. And so she did this long, elaborate thing to try to get me taken out of my mother's will to be replaced by our 2 daughters. Separately, she invited my father to come from New York and stay with her. And while she was in Alcoholics Anonymous, she plied him with wine, red wine, got him drunk, and got him, tried to get him to sign a will that she gave him to sign. She's in Alcoholics Anonymous, and she's giving my father red wine to sign a will to have her and his grandkids put in his will. My brother won't ever talk to her anymore. I've been close friends with Deborah, but she has a side of her that is extremely dishonest. And the only reason I'm talking about this is because she did the same thing with Wendy Kramer. After I came forward in the New York Times, I was honest enough to tell Deborah I did this article in the New York Times, and I could have hidden the whole thing. She wouldn't have found out about it. I was going to see the kids every single week. I was giving her massages every single week. I was bringing great energy. She said, the night before I asked her, have I been a good dad? The night before the New York Times article with my picture of meeting my daughter, Ryan, who was going to USC. I said, Deborah, have I been a good father all these years? She said, you've been a super good father, more than I could ever ask for. And it was true. I didn't want to be a dad to any kids. I just acquiesced to give her sperm to help her have a kid, even though she went against her agreement, and my mother did everything she could to keep me from being her donor to start with or playing any continuing role. I kept doing it. She kept asking me to play a further part, to sign the birth certificate. I kept doing it more and more. She kept asking me to play a deeper and deeper and deeper role. I never had any romantic interest with her. But I absolutely did my best for the benefit of these children, knowing that I could see she had a suppressive side, a dishonest side, but she was a very good person in other ways. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. But, for what I did for her, so these kids wouldn't become brats and they would have someone to point to be dad and someone to play a continuing role. For her to try to steal my parents' inheritance, and when she found out that my father had spent down with medical expenses and had no more money, she never called him again. He was her best friend till she found out he had no money. She never called him.